Dun, dun, dun. Land up, girl. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. Got little Evie hanging out on my lap while George is dealing with some homework stuff. Hopefully he's going to be logging in. Good morning / afternoon, depending on where you are, / evening for some of you. Hi, everybody. Evie's teething again. I think we have another tooth popping through. So we've got this little necklace on her. I don't know if it makes any difference, but it's there just in case. Today, we're going to be reading part 2 of my story, Loxley. I did find out that, so this is in 2 different anthologies. It's in Once Upon a Star, which is another one of those Once Upon anthologies. There's 5 of those published now. So Ella in the Haunted House was in Once Upon a Ghost, and then Once Upon a Kiss was my red story, and then this one is Once Upon a Star. But there are 2 others that I do not have stories in, Once Upon a Quest and Once Upon a Curse. You can see George is over here because you can watch her. She's looking at him and laughing. It's also, this story, Loxley, is also in an anthology called Game On that was in Kindle Unlimited, even though I usually do not put books into Kindle Unlimited. But it was in Kindle Unlimited for a limited time, and it is now out of Kindle Unlimited, but it's not yet published at all the other vendors. So if you'd like to purchase Game On, there's a link below to the anthology called Game On. Uh-oh, she's going to go. No. George is going to take her. Say hi, everybody. Say hi. She's a smiley girl. We're going to be leaving her. She is so rocking that little head bow, and she has a little ladybugs on her shirt, which I just love. They're so cute. So I said head bow, but I meant hair bow. I don't know, you guys. So the Game On anthology is at Amazon, but it is going out everywhere else. So if you're kind of enjoying this sort of world, which is something a little bit different, then you could pick up some other great authors that have stories in that anthology. And I think it's primarily girls writing those stories, women in the Game On anthology. There might be some men, but I think it's mostly women. So support that if you get a chance. I did kind of grab one of my, where is this one from? Tea Turtle t-shirts that has, this is called Gamer Girl, and you can't really see it, but this is like a game controller over here and here. And then there's just like a mouse and a little laptop here. You can't really see it on video too much, but I thought this was perfect for, this is perfect for today's reading. So I saw that Deb said Evie doesn't have a lot of hair, so head bow is totally appropriate. Thank you very much, because yes, she is finally starting to grow enough hair that, like, last night in the bath, I was able to like kind of stick it up just the teeniest, tiniest little bit. And it's just so cute. She's growing up so much. I feel like she is both like so big, but also still so tiny. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Also, let's see. What else did somebody say? HB90 plug. I reached a major milestone yesterday. Oh, awesome. Diane, what is your milestone if you want to share it with us? Gemma, I remembered to come tonight after my fail yesterday. So if you are not in the Coven, which is my Facebook group for fans, Gemma posted that she accidentally showed up on YouTube yesterday at 4 and was like, "Where is Sarah?" And it was like, "Where is she? Oh no, I forgot it's Tuesday." I have been completely turned around this week too. Like, today does not feel like Wednesday to me. It feels much more like Thursday or Friday. So I don't know what's happening. Several planets, not Mercury, but several planets are going into retrograde this week. So it could be something to do with that if you believe in the kind of like astrology type stuff or any of those things. So yeah, there's lots of things happening there. We have a 4 o'clock Sarah addiction. Thank you, Laura. I'm excited to have you guys here. It really means a lot. And I know that at least here in South Carolina, you can let us know in the comments if this is happening for you. But here where we are, things are starting to open back up. So we've got restaurants opening back up. My lash place is opening back up. So if you didn't know, I usually put false lashes on, but then last year as a present for myself, I had lash extensions done, and I am obsessed with them because they just look so good and you don't have to put fake eyelashes on and it looks good on video. And of course I haven't been able to go get my lashes. So there's like two like barely hanging on. So I'm going to go finally get my lashes done. I have to wear a mask the whole time, but it'll be fun to go get that done. Hair places are opening. So it's definitely, I think we might see less people here on the live streams because they're going back to work, which is a wonderful thing. But also we may have to look at, thank you, George, I love you. We may have to look at switching the time. I just hate to go, it's like going later in the evening here in the United States is going to mean that some people in the UK that join us regularly wouldn't be able to attend because it would be like 4 a.m. So it's really kind of hard to do that. And so in the chat, you can see that Kara Mullaney is here today. And I have a special birthday message for you, Kara, because your very sweet husband reached out to me and said, can you please do a shout out for Kara's birthday? Because she's going to be there on the live stream. So I just thought that was the sweetest email that I've gotten in a long time. So very, very truly deep like love to you, Kara, and I wish you a very, very happy birthday. I hope that you've had a wonderful day. And I just appreciate you so much, but I definitely just thought that was incredibly sweet of him to do that. And his email was very cute and fun. So I can tell he cares about you very deeply. So happy birthday, Kara. We love having you here and we all wish you the very best day ever. So that being said, let's go ahead. I actually have a little note here. I don't know if you guys can read this because it might be backwards or the lighting. It says, happy birthday, Kara Mullaney, because I wanted to remember to put it on the live stream today. So, yes, I had myself a little note to remember to wish you happy birthday. Okay, so let's move on to the reading today because exciting news is that I am on the home stretch of edits on The Witch's Key. I feel like it's really finally come together. I have made changes to the story, nothing that really like significantly changes the story, but I added a training sequence with Martin at the beginning and took away one of the training sequences with the Slayers at the end. And there's just like some things that have been strengthened and some scenes that have switched around. A couple scenes got deleted, a couple scenes got added, but I'm finally in the thick of kind of one of my final read-throughs, not the very final one, but it has been sent to beta readers. It is on the way. Editor is going to have it by tomorrow. So it's just one of those like, we're getting it done and it's going to be uploaded by Friday night. You guys will get it on Tuesday next week, May 19th. If you haven't pre-ordered The Witch's Key, it is available to pre-order or it will go live next week. I haven't made any decisions yet about the paperbacks, signed paperbacks, but I'll let you guys know more about that next week when the paperbacks start going live. But because I'm anxious to get back on the editing wagon and my head is there with Lenny and Kai where I left it, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to read the second half of this story and try not to keep it as long today. Plus, instead of doing our normal meals, we are ordering Japanese tonight just to make things a little easier because I am deep into edit mode. So, I saw somebody, Janie says it's my eldest daughter's birthday today and I got to spend half an hour with her in the garden at a distance. I love that, Janie. That's so awesome. Happy birthday to your daughter. Oh, Gemma, you're going to read it to her when it comes out. That is so exciting. I am going to read for you guys the training sequence stuff with Martin on Monday next week, I believe. So we'll do kind of a release week party stuff next week. So I'll have more information on that on Friday. Diane said getting artwork together for Solo has taken roughly a year, but it's ready. So yay for HB90. I'm so proud of you, Diane. Good job. Definitely a big shout out to you. So many changes. It's going to be like reading it for the first time. Yeah. And it'll feel like familiar. I was going to change it to the opening of the book being a training sequence with Martin. But then I realized I really kind of liked the pacing of her showing up at school, like having it be her first day of school. So it got moved back. So there've been a lot of changes, and you guys will see a vlog for sure this upcoming weekend that sort of takes you through the process of editing the book, which has been really fun. And I've enjoyed, taking this project that we kind of worked on together and, making it something new and available for ebook. So the chapters have been a little bit rearranged. Some of the chapter titles have changed. So you guys will get to see that next week. I saw somebody say they're ordering Shadow Demons paperbacks, and now I missed it. Where is it? Oh, Nicole, I'm ordering all the Shadow Demons paperback books today. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a lot. Are you ordering all of them? That is a lot of paperbacks, but that's going to be a nice big box coming to you for sure. I actually have a box right here full of all the Shadow Demons paperbacks, and they're so beautiful and they're awesome, but those are for Christabel. And I know she's probably like, where are the books, Sarah? As a thank you for helping to moderate the Coven group. So Christabel, I don't know if you're here yet today, but we appreciate everything you do for that group as well. And I will get those going. So yes, she wanted you to read, Gemma said she wanted me to read Eternal Sorrows 1 and 2. And I said I wasn't so sure because zombies kind of freak her out. So the Witch's Key was a compromise. Yeah, if zombies freak you out, Eternal Sorrows is not the series for you, but it is a fun series. All right, so let's get started on Loxley. I hope that you guys enjoyed the first half of this story. Yesterday is a little bit different, but George was also saying to me yesterday, or just a few minutes ago, actually in the kitchen, he was like, even if it's a different genre, it still feels like your book. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. So let's get started. Chapter 3, The End of the World. If you remember, our heroine has just made it through the city of Everbrook and is into the sort of storage place where the orb of Valtress is being held. The room I dropped into looked completely bare, but I could immediately feel the power of the orb here. Someone had placed a cloaking spell on this room. I closed my eyes and ran through various pieces of my code, looking for something strong enough to unlock the illusion that had been placed here. As I got to the end of my list with no results, I started to panic. I couldn't be this close to the orb now and not be able to see it or touch it. I had to find a way. But nothing in my little bag of hacker tricks seemed to be working. I opened my eyes and paced the room, feeling around for any type of switch or trigger that might release the illusion spell. There was a seriously nasty trap on the door to this room, but other than that, I could sense nothing but the cloaking spell. All I needed to do was drop that illusion, grab the orb, and get the heck out of there. It was mine for the taking, and I wasn't going to leave this room until I had it safely in my inventory. I just needed to think. I sat down in the center of the room and reached out with all my senses, including what Blast called my hacker sense. I wasn't sure exactly how I did it, but here inside the realm, I seemed to have a strange sixth sense. It was as if I could feel and see the code around me in a way that most people couldn't. I had to really focus to tap into that feeling, and to be honest, plugging into it for too long scared the crap out of me. I would sometimes tap into that sense long enough to get an idea of the type of code I needed in order to break a spell or cast a certain kind of magic. But if I stayed too long, the code seemed to get inside of me in a way that felt wrong, dangerous. I avoided making the connection as much as possible, but right now, I didn't seem to have a choice. I needed to break this illusion fast. I put everything else out of my mind and took deep breaths. I placed my hands lightly on my knees, and with each breath, I imagined myself sinking a little deeper into the floor. It was a difficult sensation to describe, but in some ways, it felt as if I was melting into the floor itself, becoming a part of the game. At first, I resisted the connection. It didn't matter that I was trying to get to it. I was often so afraid of it that I couldn't help but feel that slight resistance and the urge to totally disconnect and get out of there. But once I pushed through and made myself move forward, the connection came easily. The world around me started to buzz, the code seeping into my skin like tiny rows of ants crawling through me. I focused my thoughts on that cloaking spell, and deep inside the darkness of my mind, a row of code suddenly appeared. Ones and zeros in sequence flying by. No one had ever taught me how to interpret it, but I had always known how to read it. I searched the code for some sign of how to break it, and when the solution appeared, I smiled. It was deceptively simple, and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it before now. I opened my eyes and stood up, backing away from the center of the room, where I now could almost see the orb's silhouette. I worked to create a new string of code in my mind, the key to unlocking the illusion. And when I sent that new code out into the room, the appearance of an empty room was replaced by an ornately decorated library full of books and trinkets. And there, in the center of the room, was a carved pedestal with a rich blue velvet pillow lying on top. Cradled in the velvet was a clear orb that sparkled with the light of 100 tiny stars locked inside. It was the perfect size for a human hand, and its power was so great it warmed my skin like the sun. "The orb of Altress," I whispered, almost reverently, as I stepped toward it. Only, just as I reached out to take it into my hand, my entire body stiffened. I could breathe, but I could not move my arms and legs. I reached out looking for whatever trap seemed to hold me, but it was no trap. It was another player. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a guy's voice said. His boots fell softly on the wood floor behind me, but I could not turn my head to see his face. "Ghost, I presume?" I asked, surprised to find that I could speak despite my current paralysis. "It didn't take long for word of my arrival in this world to spread," he said. "I've learned a lot about you too, Robin of Loxley." I raised an eyebrow at his mention of my full namesake. Robin Hood was not a legend most people knew anymore, much less the name Robin of Loxley. So far, in all my time, no one had ever matched my avatar's name to Robin Hood, until now. My eyes widened in surprise when Ghost stepped forward, finally coming into view just in front of the orb. He was my age, or at least he looked to be my age. It was amazing what you could do with an avatar, especially when you were a talented hacker. But he looked right somehow, real, and so handsome he nearly took my breath away. "What, you thought I was going to be some old man covered in warts or carrying a staff?" he asked, laughing with his eyes in a way that made them almost sparkle a deep teal color. "I've hardly thought of you at all," I said, wanting very badly to lift my chin in defiance, but still not able to move my head. A slow smile crept across his face, and the way he stared at me brought a blush to my cheeks. He knew I was lying. It was like he could literally see directly into my brain. Could he? No one was that good at hacking, right? Finally, he looked away from me and stared at the orb instead. When he turned, I caught sight of a tattoo on his neck, just under his shirt, a skull and crossbones. It really was him. "You know, I've been trying to release that illusion spell for the past half hour," he said. "I couldn't get it to budge. But you..." His eyes were on me again, making my skin flush. What the heck was he doing to me? I needed to figure out what he was doing to hold me and break the code, or he was going to take that orb away and disappear. I couldn't let that happen. "You broke through that spell in a matter of seconds, really," he continued, making his way around the orb, studying it and me at the same time. "I had heard you were talented, but I don't think I've ever seen someone who can do exactly what you just did." My eyes snapped to his, and this time, instead of the flush of some strange attraction, I didn't want to acknowledge. My body flushed with fear. Had he somehow been able to sense what I had done? The way I had connected to the source code? I wasn't sure what a guy like Ghost could do with that kind of information, but it was something I kept very close to the vest. Not even Blast understood exactly what I could do, and I had fought long and hard to make sure that secret was safe. Usually, someone just watching me work couldn't tell or sense what I was doing, but this guy was different somehow. He knew. Still, I tried to bluff him just in case. It was nothing, I said. I just needed to take a second and run through some old code in one of my backup drives, that's all. He responded with that smile again, the one that was more inside his eyes than on his face, the one that made my stomach flip. I was kind of starting to hate him for the way he made me feel. I never felt quite so out of control before. Sure, he said. If that's what you want me to think, I'll go along with it for the sake of our new friendship. We aren't friends, I said. At least no friend of mine ever held me against my will like this. We may not be friends yet, but I'm hoping to change that in time, Loxley, he said, his eyes turning to the orb. But for now, I do hope you'll forgive me for taking the orb of Altress. I know how badly you wanted it. I closed my eyes, trying to block out his voice and the unsettled feeling in the pit of my stomach. I focused on connecting to the source code all around me, tapping into that steady flow of energy that created everything here in this world. A trickle of connection moved through me, but I was too distracted, too upset at the fact that this stranger was about to steal the treasure I'd been seeking for months right out from under me. Who the hell was this guy anyway? If this piece wasn't an absolute necessity for me and my crew, I would leave it for you. I really would, he said, but I have to have it. Someday, I hope you'll understand. I plugged in deeper to the connection and the flow of data, finally feeling the familiar yet terrifying buzz of its power running through me. I searched for the code that surrounded most of my body, locking me in place, but it was underneath, hidden in lines of useless code, like a smoke screen. I sorted through it as quickly as I could, but he'd somehow managed to place a ridiculous amount of junk in this code. I couldn't tell what was real and what was just put there to fool me. Frustration rose inside me, causing a strange static in my connection. You won't be able to break free before I'm gone, Ghost said. This time, he was standing so close to me I could practically feel his breath against my cheek as he spoke. Loxley, open your eyes. I didn't want to, but I couldn't seem to help myself. Besides, he was right. This code was too good, too convincing. It was going to take me several minutes just to sort it out, and he'd likely be gone by then. I opened my eyes to find him standing right in front of me, his arm brushing mine. There's a group of us fighting to make changes around here, he said. Here and other places. We could use someone like you on our team. I work alone, I said. I've heard. And you make a real difference, he said. But just think what you could do if you had a group around you that you could trust. A family. His words made tears spring to my eyes, and I quickly coded them away, embarrassed that I'd let so much of my real emotions show. Trust is a hard thing to come by among thieves these days, I said. And I've never been much of a family person, to be honest. I expected him to laugh at me, but he didn't. Instead, his teal eyes searched mine. Again, I wondered if he could hear my thoughts, if he knew I was lying and that family was the one thing I wanted more than anything else. You don't have to do this alone, he said, his voice softer this time. And there is so much more to this world than even you have come to know. I could show you, Loxley. I could show you everything. I swallowed back any sign of emotion that might come through my voice before I spoke. And if I did want to take you up on it, how could I go about finding you again? I asked. If he did plan on walking out of here with that orb and keeping it to himself, maybe I could find a way to steal it back. Maybe he'd be dumb enough to tell me where he lived or how to reach him. He smiled and stepped back a few steps, one eyebrow raised as he shook his head. You don't really think I'd make it that easy on you, do you? He asked. Besides, you found me once. I have no doubt you can find me again, if you really want to. I have a feeling we'll be running into each other a lot from now on. Fine, if you won't tell me where you're going with that orb, then at least tell me where you came from, I said. 3 months ago, no one had ever heard of you. Did you switch avatars, or are you new to the game entirely? I was so close to cracking through his jumbled mess of code that I was determined to keep him talking. I knew he wasn't going to give me any real answers, but if he'd just give me a few more seconds, maybe I could break free and grab the orb from his inventory. So many questions, he said, and so little time. I imagine you've almost figured out how to free yourself from my little web there, so I'm afraid I have to get going. I am glad you came tonight, though. The guy who bought this orb was going to sell it tomorrow to one of the dark wizards. I gasped. The orb of Altress in the hands of a dark wizard would have been very dangerous. Lethal to many citizens of the realm, no doubt. That's why I had to come for it today, and I was so hoping you'd meet me here, Ghost said. It was truly a pleasure to meet you, Loxley. I've been looking forward to it more than you know. Dang it. He was already heading for the exit, and I was running out of time. I am terribly sorry again about the orb, he said as he crawled through the window. From where I stood, frozen, I could just barely see him out of the corner of my eye. When you get home later tonight, though, you'll see I left you a little something to make up for it. I hope to see you again soon. Oh, and if you change your mind about us, come find me, okay? With that, he took a great leap from the window and disappeared from sight. I closed my eyes, focused harder on the code holding me, and managed to untangle it in 10 seconds. The moment I broke free, I dashed toward the window, working furiously to enhance my speed and agility as I jumped straight from the window to the ledge of the stables several feet away. I pulled myself onto the roof, leaped across the length of the stables, and then jumped down onto the fence. Ahead of me, Ghost jumped from fence post to fence post, his body moving gracefully and so fast I could hardly even dream of catching up. I pushed myself harder, even though I knew I was going to pay for it in the morning. I've already gone beyond my normal limit. With top-of-the-line gear, I might have been able to push harder for longer periods of time without completely exhausting my body. But with this crappy, pulled-together gear made of spare black market parts, I was playing with fire. But I couldn't let him go. I followed Ghost across the fields, into the town, through several cobblestone alleys, and finally out to the docks where several fishing ships had just come in with their catch of the day. I nearly lost him in the crowds there, but a small splash caught the edge of my attention, and I leaped into the water after him. I was fast in the water, too, and I could see him just ahead of me. Where he was going, though, I had no idea. There was only so far out you could go into the water before you hit the edge of the world. Everyone knew that. But he kept speeding toward that invisible zone line, and I followed him so close now I could almost reach out and grab him. Only, just as I nearly came up beside him, my body slammed into the barrier at the edge of the zone. I swam to the surface and gasped for air, every part of me hurting and sore from pushing too hard in this gear. I rubbed the water from my eyes and pressed my hands against the invisible wall that ended this part of the game world. I must have gotten turned around or missed something, because there was no way Ghost had kept going. It was literally the end of the world. I turned around in the water, searching to see if I could find any sign of him. At first, I thought he'd completely lived up to his name and totally ghosted me, but then, way past the zone line, something moved in the distance. What is that? I squinted and then gasped as a large ship came into view. It was nothing like any ship I'd ever seen before, with its billowing sails and intricately carved details. And there were people on board, an entire crew from the looks of it, each of them wearing black pants and red shirts with a skull and crossbones on the back, the same symbol Ghost had tattooed on his neck. The ship had been moving quickly across the water, but it suddenly seemed to stop completely. Someone shouted, and one of the crew members threw a rope ladder over the edge into the water. To my surprise and confusion, Ghost grabbed hold of the rope ladder and climbed up until he stood on the deck with the others. But how was that possible? I beat my fist against the invisible barrier, feeling no way around it, even when I searched the code with my mind. How had they gotten past it? It didn't make sense. As Ghost turned toward me, he raised a hand, lifting the shimmering orb of Altress into the air. Then he nodded to me and raised his other hand in a salute. The ship began to move again, and in seconds, the entire Ghost ship was gone. Chapter 4, More Than This Life. Exit, I said, gasping as I disconnected from the realm and returned to my tiny one-room flat. My entire body ached from what I'd put it through tonight, and I glanced at my watch. I only had 2 hours before a full day of work began all over again, and I already knew there would be no chance for sleep tonight. I removed each piece of gear from my body and made my way out into the hallway, up the narrow stairs, and finally onto the roof of my building in the banned district. I needed fresh air, or at least what would have to pass for fresh in this world. I sat on the edge of the roof, staring out at the city full of millions, most of them tucked away in their pods or their beds, happily existing inside an imagined world that felt more real to them than real life ever would. He was out there somewhere, Ghost. But who was he? And what did he really want? I had more questions than I had answers, but there was one thing he'd said that kept running through my mind over and over. There is so much more to this world than even you have come to know. I could show you, Loxley. I could show you everything. I had spent my whole life feeling that surely there had to be more than this life. Tonight, I had met someone who said he could show me more. But could I trust him? I thought through it for more than an hour before the first hints of sunrise started to show on the horizon, and I was forced to drag myself back down the stairs to get ready for work. Just as I was about to head out, the handheld disc beside my bed pulsed with a green light. Blast. I picked it up and read the message. What happened? Did you get it? I shook my head. I didn't want to admit to him that Ghost had beat me to it, but his question reminded me that Ghost said he'd send me something else as a sort of consolation prize. I didn't have much time before I had to get going, but I couldn't leave it for tonight. I had to know if he'd been telling the truth. I quickly lay down in the bed and pulled on just the headgear this time. I would only be logged on for a moment. Connect, I said, and the world of the realm sprang to life. It was dark there now, and my avatar was still at the edge of the zone line, floating in the water. I quickly opened my inventory, scanning for any new or unusual items. When my eyes landed on the pair of iridium bars, I nearly gulped in a lungful of seawater. 2 pure bars of iridium? Where in the world had Ghost gotten hold of something so valuable? Selling these would more than cover what I could have gotten from the orb of Altress. Everyone in the realm needed iridium, and it was one of the rarest and most precious metals available. It would be easy to fence, impossible to trace, and the take from this would pay the subs for more than 24 families. I quickly hid them with a special set of code I'd created, making sure no one else would be able to see them in my inventory, and I logged out. There was no time to fence them this morning, but later tonight, I'd get rid of them and deliver the coin to some of the families I knew who needed it most. It would be a good night. The best kind, really. I dashed a quick message out to blast on the disc. Not the orb. Better. I didn't wait for the shocked reply I knew would be coming. I'd explain it to him later. Maybe there really was more out there than I realized. Maybe there really was hope that I could make a difference. I threw on my hat and left my apartment to join the throng of the band who made the walk together toward the sewers and the factories. And for the first time, in as long as I could remember, I smiled all the way there. Yay! I have kind of a fun story to tell you guys about this, this particular story world. So in my head, this is really just kind of the first scene of a book, which is why I'm terrible at writing short stories, because I'm really just writing like pieces of a bigger story. And that's just how my brain works. But I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I really do love it. I would love to write more of this, but I feel that way about so many different stories. I had this experience where, so Ghost Ship, I saw someone say pirates. Yes, LA, exactly. So Ghost Ship is kind of like a pirate ship, you know, with these big sails and all this stuff. And it appears outside the zone line where there should be nothing, right? Nobody should be able to get out there, but he's there. And when I first came up with this story, I had a lot of different versions of the beginning of the story. And then one day I just had this like sort of vision in my head. It wasn't a dream, but just a vision in my head of this guy, Ghost, like climbing up this ladder past the zone line and holding up this orb and kind of being like, see ya. And her being like, oh, what just happened? And I just thought that would be such a cool thing. And I said to the universe, and you guys can think this is super like cheesy, but I said to the universe, like, send me a sign that this is the way the story should go. Like the pirate ship, and, you know, if I should write this book, send me a sign. And I do this a lot. I ask for signs. And I got an owl crate like the next day in the mail. If you guys don't know what an owl crate is, it's obviously like Owl from Harry Potter, like delivering the mail. And it's a young adult book subscription, basically. And you get every month, you get a like a hardcover book with a bunch of other stuff. Like sometimes there'll be a candle or whatever, but it usually has a theme to it. So that particular one, guess what the theme was? This is literally the day after I asked for a sign. The theme was pirates. And I just absolutely was like, oh my gosh, this is my sign. And I pulled out, because I also said to myself, oh, I really want to write this, but I also am scared, like I mentioned yesterday, because it's a different genre. And I know there's a lot of my readers, the same way a lot of my readers have been hesitant to pick up a series about zombies. I'm afraid a lot of my readers would be hesitant to pick up a series about a gamer or a game world, like something dystopian rather than like witches or whatever, even though you can tell like when she sits down to connect to the source code, it's very similar to Harper connecting to her well of power. It has that similar feel to it. But there was I wish I had it in here to show you, but it's upstairs. There was a towel in that owl crate that had a big pirate ship on it. And it said, ships are always safe at shore, but that's not what they're made for. And I saw that message and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a perfect sign from the universe, because it's basically saying, oh, I got a baby. It's basically saying, you know, ships are always safe at shore, like saying you can write what seems safe or easy, but that's not what you were put here for. You were put here to write the stories that light your imagination, not to write what you think is going to sell best or what, you know, and it's being a writer is always a professional writer, especially when you're a indie author, and it's all up to you. You have a lot of freedom, but you also have to, like, I support my family with my writing, you know, so you also do have to think about the market, and you have to think about what's going to sell best, and you have to think about what your readers are going to want, because, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here as a writer if it wasn't for you guys who read the books, you know, so I want to make you happy too. But I felt like that was just kind of a little wink from the universe saying, like, you were meant to write this story. But yes, you can't write it all. And unfortunately, I have not been writing fast enough in the last few years to write everything. Debbie said those owl crates sound amazing. If you like young adult fiction, the owl crates are really cool. One of my favorite standalone books of all time. And it's another book that is not a paranormal book, but it has kind of a fantasy feel. Like I'm talking about, like with this one is like, it's not paranormal, but it has that paranormal feel because the world is sort of different. Is called Eliza and Her Monsters. If you've never read that book, it's really, really good, but it's about a girl who is, she like writes basically a online fictional world, but nobody knows that she's the one who writes it. It's really, really good. I loved that book. I could probably read it 20 or 30 times, but that came out of an owl crate. And so it's a good way to kind of get to know. I don't know where the bow is. Somebody asked, where's the bow? I don't know. Her head is so big. Some of them don't fit right. So, and she's sleepy because she was up at 5 o'clock this morning, which made her mommy super happy because I was up till like 1 editing. And then she was like bright-eyed at 5 a.m. But anyway, the point is that sometimes I feel like there are just stories you were meant to write. And whether you want to be a part of this, tell everybody what you think. Did you like the story? Yeah, she's getting sleepy, I think. She's gone down from 3 naps to 2, but I think today she might need an extra nap. We'll see. She also we just ordered, I saw George just brought it in the house. It must have gotten here while I was reading, is that we got her a like one of those little tables because she's starting to pull up on everything. So now it's like one of those little activity tables, and we got rid of the baby swing this weekend. So that made room for it. Debbie said, is there any news on the bestseller list? So not yet. And it usually will come in at like I guess in Wednesday night, it'll usually come in. And then it officially gets published on Thursdays. What is that?
It's her present.
Oh, that's my Mother's Day present?
For Evie, yeah.
Can you guys see that? It's like a Hello Kitty. Oh, did that just get here?
Yeah, I just put it.
Oh, it just came. It just got here. So this is my Mother's Day present from Evie. That is so sweet. I love it.
And everything. Looks like you can change colors.
What? Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so cute. And she's like got little angel wings. Ah, so cute. Thank you, baby. Andrew got me a little journal that has like a squishy Hello Kitty face on the front, so you can kind of squish it, which is really cool. I love it. What you doing? Yeah, she's just getting sleepy. She wants to look at that, I think. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. But yeah, we'll officially know probably late tonight or tomorrow if we hit the list. I really feel like I want it to happen eventually, but I feel like maybe we just didn't get enough sales because we needed to get probably at least 4,000 and we didn't quite make 4,000. But you never know. Maybe. I appreciate all of your support regardless of whether we make, but if we make it, we'll have a little party here on the on the channel on Friday. So we'll see. You just never know. You never know. But it means a lot to me that you guys have been so supportive throughout it. I'm blown away. It really, really means a lot. So yeah, good to share for Friday, and we'll have a discussion about it just in case. But thank you for asking. Peyton just woke up and saw Evie. Oh, Mom, it's a BB. Hello, BB. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so that is my little like story about the Loxley idea. And it's had many different I guess, titles in a way. I've called it hacked. I've written out, I actually have an entire notebook of ideas for how to turn this into a series, but we'll see, everything's hopefully I have a very long life ahead of me and I'll be able to write for many, many years, and you just never know what will come about. I saw that other people were commenting on I guess it was Friday's coffee chat, saying that they really love that idea that I shared about the mystery series with the sort of bed and breakfast that's like the John Wick Continental place. So a lot of people were interested in that. I have to also say, I've mentioned to you guys what was I thinking? It's distracting with that Hello Kitty in the background changing colors. I mentioned to you guys that I might do a Venom series, and I also do have another series that is a spinoff of the Shadow Demon saga that I might write as well. So you guys can guess what character, but it's based on a character that is well loved in the series, and she would get her own series. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil it by saying who, because I don't know for sure. Like, I don't want to commit to writing it yet, but there's a lot of ideas there. So even though we've got 2 Demons books remaining, there might be some other side series that come after that. So, but this year, in terms of my production schedule, this year, I know that I want to finish. Obviously, Fate's Surrender is getting really close to being done. So hopefully I'm going to be able to announce a release date and show you guys the cover for that really soon. I've seen that a lot of you have mentioned that you're reading Death's Awakening and you're reading Eternal Sorrows series. So now is definitely a good time to get into that, since that'll be the next book that gets completed. Obviously, I'm going to be working on a season 2 for The Witch's Key, potentially called The Witch's Door. And then I'm going to be finishing the last 2 Demons books with a read along. So that is probably going to be more than enough for this year. So we'll be moving into next year when we look at maybe possibility of a Venom series and a spinoff. So I see 2 guesses, maybe Azure, maybe Marianne. Those are very good guesses. I'm not going to say if it's right or not. Might be. Somebody said maybe you could write a historical YA paranormal, Rana. Yeah, I have thought about historical too. There's so many amazing things, so many great ideas out there. And it's like, how do you know what to write? I don't know. But I will say that I have absolutely loved writing a long series. So I mean, the short stories, I hope that you guys are enjoying these. Definitely hit the thumbs up. We only have 38. And the first part of Loxley has 3 downvotes. So I don't know if some people just really didn't like that story, or what. Maybe they didn't like my hair. Who knows? But let's counteract the downvotes on this one and hit a couple of thumbs up if you get a chance. But I like the short stories, but my heart is in the big stories, like the long series. And even though I didn't think, like, some people were asking about this in the Coven, like, did you know this was going to be a 6-book series? And then did you think that was going to be the end? Well, my thought when I first started the Beautiful Demons series was that it was going to be a trilogy, 3 books, and then I'll move on to something else. And instead, now it's really, I think it's 15 books and stories total in that world. So there's 10 books right now in the main series. Then there's 3 Sacrifice Me's, A Demon's Wrath, After Midnight. There's lots of short stories. So there's a lot of things that are part of that world, and there's more to come. And like I said, there may be 2 more series following some of those same characters. So that's where my heart is that big story world. But the thing about the big story world is, it's taken me 10 years to write this. So whenever I commit to the next story, I want it to be something I could live in and really love for the next 10 years or more of my life. So, oh goodness. Rana says, I just imagined a pirate on the pirate ship. Yeah, I know. That's a really cool idea. Pirates would be a really cool story to write too. Just not inside a game, but just like pirates in general. I've always loved the idea of like ancient Egypt too. And that, I think there could be some cool stories in that time period as well. So yeah, Seesaw 4. Honestly, you don't have to rush. I love the anticipation of all these great stories to come. Maybe that's why I love cliffhangers too. Yeah, I definitely feel that way. I love having the anticipation, and I feel like the anticipation is part of the fun of stories. And so yeah, I agree with that for sure. All right, you guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here for today so that we can get, did you order? George has already ordered some Japanese that is on its way. And I am going to be editing the final pieces of The Witch's Key. Please head out and pre-order the book if you want. It is $3.99 and it is available at all major vendors for pre-order for next Tuesday. So next week we will have a sort of release week party. I'm going to be reading you a scene that has been written just for the new version. And I'll be working on some other fun stuff that we can do next week. On Friday this week, we're going to just have another coffee chat. So hopefully you guys can join me if you get a chance on Friday at 4 p.m. just for another, 30-minute to an hour long coffee chat. So bring your questions if you'd like. You can feel free to ask some questions in advance or just show up and we'll have a chat, and then I will see you guys next week. If I do happen by some crazy miracle to hit the USA Today bestseller list tomorrow, I will definitely announce that on Friday as well, but I'll probably mention it in the coven as soon as I find out. So I'm not keeping my hopes up for it because I don't think we quite sold enough. But I will say, out of the 17 authors that were in that anthology, I guarantee you I was the author that brought in the most sales for this because you guys were amazing and I appreciate it so much. All right. So Evie's making some noise. She's ready for a little nap while we eat. I love you guys. Thank you so, so much. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. If you enjoyed this story and you are not yet subscribed to this channel, I would love to have you as part of our new community here on YouTube, and come join the coven as well. And we will see you over there. All right, you guys, love you, and see you Friday for our coffee chat. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.